Welcome to Auntie Rose Narrates. Before today's story of betrayal and self-discovery, please subscribe and hit like to help these stories be heard. Drop your city or country in the comments. It always warms my heart. Now let's begin. After the family dinner, I forget my phone on the table. When I came back, Waitress locked the door and whispered, "Be quiet. I will show you the camera footage above the table, but promise me you won't pass out." What my son did on that video made me drop to my knees. When I tell this story, my hands still shake, even though years have passed. I can feel it now, sitting at my kitchen table, remembering the exact moment my life changed. It was supposed to be a normal evening, just a family dinner. Nothing more, nothing less. But life has a way of showing us the truth when we least expect it. I remember the waitress handing me my receipt, and I left my phone on the table. A small, careless mistake. When I returned, the door to the restaurant was locked. The dim light flickered above, and the woman behind the counter leaned close, whispering, "Be quiet. I'll show you the camera footage above your table, but promise me you won't pass out." I froze. My heart felt like it had stopped. I didn't know what to expect. And then I saw it. My son, my own boy, the one I had raised with love and patience, doing something so shocking. I dropped to my knees. I couldn't breathe for a moment. I couldn't think. All I could feel was a cold, heavy knot of disbelief and heartbreak. It wasn't just the act itself, it was the way it unfolded so casually, as if nothing mattered. And yet, that one moment would change everything I thought I knew about my family. I wish I could tell you that I reacted with anger or fury. I didn't. I just sat there, staring at the screen, trying to make sense of the impossible. My mind raced. How? Why? But before I get to that, I need to take you back. Because you can't understand the shock, the betrayal, without knowing the quiet life we had built. Without knowing my family. Without seeing the love that existed, and the small cracks I never noticed. I have always believed that family is built slowly, quietly. Not in grand gestures, but in mornings filled with breakfast smells. In evenings where laughter spills from the living room into the kitchen. In the tiny routines that seem ordinary, but are the glue of life. My husband, God bless him, was a kind man. Gentle, steady, patient. He had a way of making every day feel safe, even when the world outside was harsh and loud. I always admired him for it, even when I didn't say it enough. Our son, the one I watched in horror on that screen, was different. From the beginning, he was curious, smart, full of energy, sometimes too much for his own good. I remember his first day at school, he held my hand so tightly, refusing to let go. And I thought, as all mothers do, that I would guide him forever. And then, as children do, he grew. He became a young man, independent, confident, sometimes frustrating. But he was still my son, my heart, my pride. We had a small family home, nothing fancy. Just walls filled with memories. The kitchen table, where countless dinners had been shared, held stories in its scratches. The living room couch had seen tears, laughter, arguments, and hugs that healed more than anything else in the world. I thought we were ordinary in the best possible way. Our life had its ups and downs like any other, but love was always at the center. Or so I thought. That evening, the one before the revelation, we had gathered for dinner at a little family restaurant downtown. The kind of place where the waitress greets you by name after a few visits, where the air smells of fried chicken and fresh bread. My husband was quietly proud that our family still enjoyed these simple meals together. Our son, with his wife, was usually lively, teasing us, laughing at jokes only they understood. I always thought their humor was harmless, part of the way young couples bond, but that night something felt off. I noticed it, even as I smiled, even as I laughed at their jokes. There was a tension I couldn't place. A glance exchanged between them, fleeting, almost invisible, but enough to send a shiver down my spine. I shrugged it off. I always did that, ignored the little unease that tugged at me, telling myself it was nothing. That was my habit, and I would pay dearly for it. We ordered our meals, and the evening unfolded slowly. Conversations, polite laughter, small disagreements about what to order for dessert. Nothing extraordinary. And then, as we prepared to leave, I realized my phone was still on the table. I went back, not thinking twice. That's when the door was locked. That's when the waitress whispered the words that would haunt me forever. Even now, I remember the fear in her eyes. She wasn't scared of me, she was scared of what I would see. And the truth is, I should have been too. The footage showed my son in a way I could never have imagined. Not because he was cruel or violent, but because the trust, the bond, the quiet love I had believed in was shattered. In that moment, I realized how little I truly knew about what went on behind closed doors. I won't lie, I wanted to look away. I wanted to deny it, but some truths demand to be seen. And so I watched, my body shaking, my mind trying to stitch together the fragments of what I thought was reality. The questions came faster than my heart could answer them. How long? How could he do this? Did my husband know? Had I missed the signs? Every scene, every small movement on that screen tore at something deep inside me. And in the middle of that terror, I felt a strange, quiet calm. It was as if my soul whispered, "You will survive this. But you will never be the same." I learned something important that night. Sometimes the people we love most are also the ones we see the least. And the truth can come from the most unexpected places. We had spent years building a life, a family, and yet, in a single moment, the illusion of safety can collapse. But that is also where the story begins, after the fall, after the shock, after the moment when you realize nothing will ever feel ordinary again. And so, I invite you to sit with me as I take you through the nights of sleepless questioning, the days of quiet observation, the moments of whispered conversations, and the painful, tender path toward understanding. Because what I saw that night, what my son did, it was only the beginning. And in order to understand the heartbreak, the betrayal, and eventually the quiet hope, you have to know the life we had before it all fell apart. After that night, even before I saw the footage, I started noticing things differently. Little things I had always ignored suddenly seemed strange. My son's laughter sometimes sounded hollow, like it didn't reach his eyes. His wife's smiles, once warm and inviting, sometimes flickered too quickly, almost like they were hiding something. And my husband, he remained steady, but even his quiet confidence couldn't hide the small worry lines that had started to deepen around his eyes. We were a family that loved each other, truly, but love alone does not prevent secrets from growing in the shadows. I realized that even in the closest of families, you can live side by side without really seeing everything that matters. Our home had been our sanctuary for years. A modest house with a small garden out front, where flowers bloomed in spring and the air smelled faintly of jasmine. Inside, the walls carried memories. Framed photographs lined the hallway, birthdays, school recitals, vacations by the lake. Each photo captured a moment I cherished, though I now understood that no photograph could ever reveal the hidden cracks beneath the surface. Dinner at home was always simple but meaningful. My husband liked to keep the routine quiet. Soup in winter, fresh salad in summer, bread baked on Sundays. He had a way of making even ordinary meals feel like a celebration. I would set the table carefully, imagining the warmth that would fill the room when my family gathered around my son and his wife. Though young and busy, usually joined us at least once or twice a week. Their energy filled the house in a way that was sometimes overwhelming but always welcome. I tried to see things through their eyes, remembering that youth is restless and curious. I wanted to believe they were happy, that their love for each other and for their family was genuine, yet small signs began to creep into my awareness, things I had brushed aside before. A fleeting glance, a pause in conversation, a tone that didn't match the words being spoken. Nothing overt, nothing that would alarm anyone else. But for a mother who had spent decades observing her children, the instincts are hard to ignore. I remember one evening, just weeks before the dinner that would change everything, when my son came home later than expected. He smiled when he saw me, hugged me briefly, and then glanced toward the window as if someone was outside. I thought it was just work, I told myself. He's probably tired. That's all, but that night, my husband and I stayed up a little longer than usual. I found myself glancing at the front door, imagining what might have been outside. And in that quiet, I realized something unsettling. Trust is fragile. And even when you think it is unshakable, it can wobble on its foundation without warning. Family dinners, usually calm and comforting, began to feel different. My husband noticed it too, though he never said much. He would clear his throat, adjust his chair, and try to steer conversations back to familiar topics, our memories, old stories, plans for the weekend. I appreciated his subtle way of trying to keep peace, but I also felt the tension growing like a faint shadow over the room. My son and his wife, young and full of energy, would sometimes tease us in ways that once felt playful but now carried an edge I couldn't ignore. A joke too sharp, a comment too pointed. I would smile politely, laugh lightly, but inside I felt a quiet worry gnawing at me. Is this normal? I wondered. Or am I finally seeing what has been there all along? It wasn't just their words. It was the silences between them. The way my son's hand would linger near his wife's as they talked, as if signaling a secret I couldn't yet understand. The way she sometimes avoided my eyes, quickly turning away when I looked at her too long. I started noticing these patterns in small, almost imperceptible ways. Like when I found a folded piece of paper under the couch cushion with scribbles that didn't make sense. Or when I overheard a half conversation that stopped abruptly as soon as I entered the room. These moments were fleeting, often easy to dismiss, but accumulated over time, they began to create a mosaic I could no longer ignore. And yet, I still held on to the belief that our family was strong, that love, patience, and understanding could cover even the smallest cracks. I reminded myself that families have their moments of tension. Misunderstandings happen. Youth can be reckless. Sometimes I told myself, worry is just a mother's imagination running too far ahead. There were small victories too, moments that reminded me of the love we had. Like the day my son brought home a little plant for the kitchen window. He said it reminded him of me, and I felt a swell of warmth in my chest. Or the time his wife baked cookies and insisted I try one first, smiling nervously as I took a bite. Those moments were brief, but they were real. They felt genuine, and they made me believe, if only for a while, that all was well. I also observed my husband closely, trying to understand him in ways I had taken for granted. His quiet strength, the way he listened without judgment, the care he put into every gesture, even the smallest, like a hand on my shoulder when I was tired, reminded me that love often exists in silence. And perhaps that silence had been both a blessing and a warning, but life has a way of hiding truths in plain sight. The cracks I sensed, the fleeting moments of unease, were not accidents. They were the whispers of something larger, something I could not yet name. And like a storm building quietly on the horizon, the tension was growing stronger with each passing day. I remember the evening before the fateful dinner at the restaurant. My son and his wife had come over for a simple meal. The table was set carefully. The bread was warm. The soup simmered gently on the stove. Everything was as it should be, but the air felt different. My son seemed distracted, checking his phone more often than usual. His wife kept glancing toward the window, almost nervously, and I found myself watching them, trying to see the truth hidden behind smiles and polite conversation. At one point, my son excused himself briefly. I watched him go, then glanced at his wife. She gave me a small, awkward smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. There was a tension between them that I couldn't fully understand. I remember thinking, almost out loud, "Are you okay?" She nodded quickly, "Yes, everything's fine." But I knew it wasn't, and that moment, small as it seemed, was the beginning of everything unraveling. Looking back now, I can see the pattern clearly. There were signs all along, subtle, fleeting, easy to dismiss. But even the smallest whisper of doubt is worth listening to. And in those days before the dinner, before the restaurant, before the footage that would bring me to my knees, the unease was quietly growing. I wanted to believe in normalcy. I wanted to believe that love was enough. I clung to memories of laughter, of warm hugs, of small acts of kindness that had built our family over the years. But the truth, as I would soon learn, is that love alone cannot protect you from betrayal. And so we approached that night unaware of the storm waiting just beyond the door, unaware that the life we thought we knew would soon be forever changed. After that uneasy dinner, I started noticing small changes that I couldn't ignore. At first, I told myself they were trivial. People argue sometimes. Couples bicker. Children grow into adults who think they know everything. But when patterns repeat, when the same uneasy feeling gnaws at your chest night after night, you realize it's not trivial anymore. My son, normally polite and attentive, began arriving home later than usual. He would give excuses, work, friends, errands, but his voice always carried a trace of nervousness, a hesitance I hadn't heard before. His wife, who had always been warm and cheerful, became guarded. She smiled when I looked at her, but her eyes seemed distant, almost restless. And sometimes, when they thought I wasn't watching, there were brief moments of tension between them that I could not ignore. I remember one evening vividly. We were all gathered for dinner as usual. The table was set neatly, the aroma of roasted chicken filling the room. I had baked a small cake for dessert, a tradition I started years ago. And I was looking forward to the quiet comfort of family laughter. But the laughter didn't come. My son's wife was scrolling on her phone, glancing at it more often than at the food or conversation. My son seemed distracted, answering her in short, clipped sentences. My husband and I exchanged worried glances, but neither of us spoke. I tried to start a conversation. "Did you two have a good day today?" I asked softly, hoping to ease the tension. "Yes, Mom." "Fine," my son replied, almost too quickly. His wife smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Everything's fine," she added, her voice just above a whisper. I felt a chill run down my spine. The words sounded normal, but the way they were said, I knew something was wrong. In the following weeks, the small signs multiplied. I noticed the fleeting touches that seemed hurried, as if they were hiding something. I noticed the way they would exchange a look, brief and almost imperceptible, before quickly turning back to me or my husband. I noticed the hushed phone calls, the sudden silences, the nervous laughter that didn't match the mood of the room, and every time I tried to dismiss it, to convince myself that my imagination was running wild, I saw something else that told me I wasn't imagining anything. A text message flashed too briefly on her screen for me to read, but the words were gone before I could ask. A folded paper slipped from my son's pocket while he was laughing at something on TV, and I caught only the corner, enough to make me frown in concern. Even my husband noticed the changes. He didn't speak much, but I could see it in the way he would pause mid-conversation. his brow furrowing as if piecing together a puzzle he didn't have all the pieces for. There were quiet moments when he would place a hand on my shoulder, and I felt the silent weight of worry pass between us. One afternoon, I was in the kitchen preparing lunch when I overheard my son on the phone. He was speaking in hushed tones, his voice barely above a whisper. "I told you, nothing has changed. I'll handle it. Just wait." He paused, listening. Then he said, I know, but it's complicated. I can't explain it now." I froze. My heart pounded. Complicated? I thought, what are you hiding? I didn't confront him immediately. Instead, I retreated to my room and sat quietly, trying to calm my racing thoughts. My mind spun with possibilities, each one more unsettling than the last. But I couldn't bring myself to ask, not yet. Some part of me clung to the hope that I was misreading everything, that love and honesty still existed in the spaces between their words. But hope, I learned, can be fragile. The tension finally broke during a small family gathering at our home. It wasn't a special occasion, just a quiet evening, the kind that should have been comforting. My husband had prepared a simple meal. My son and his wife were there, and I had spent the afternoon arranging flowers on the table. Everything seemed ordinary on the surface, but the moment my son's wife walked in, I noticed it. The way she avoided eye contact with me, the slight hesitation in her steps, the nervous energy that seemed to ripple through the room. My son, sensing her unease, tried to distract us with stories from work. But even his voice carried a tension I couldn't ignore. As we sat down to eat, a minor disagreement erupted, something trivial about the seasoning in the soup. Normally, I would have laughed it off, but that night, the air was charged. Words were exchanged, polite on the surface, but sharp underneath. The laughter that usually accompanied our meals was gone, replaced by a heavy silence. At one point, my husband tried to intervene gently. "Let's just enjoy the meal, everyone. No need to argue over small things." But the words barely landed. My son's eyes flicked toward his wife, and I saw it in unspoken tension that neither of them would acknowledge. Their faces told a story that words did not, and for the first time, I felt a deep unease settle in my chest. In the following days, the tension didn't ease. It spread like a quiet storm through the house. I found myself watching them more closely, noting every gesture, every glance, every half-spoken word. I began keeping little mental notes, the way they would sometimes leave the room abruptly, almost in unison, the way their hands would brush, briefly, almost hidden from view, the secretive smiles, the nervous glances at phones or messages. I realized then that I had been living in a kind of quiet denial. I had wanted to believe in the normalcy of our family life and the love that had once seemed uncheckable, but the cracks were becoming too visible to ignore. I remember one night, alone in my room, staring out the window, thinking, I raised them, I nurtured them. How could I have missed this? The answer, of course, was simple. Love does not always grant you insight. Care does not always reveal truth. And mothers, no matter how vigilant, can sometimes be blind to what grows in the shadows. Then came the day I knew something had changed irreversibly. I had forgotten my phone at the restaurant after a family meal. Small mistake that led to the discovery of the footage that would shake me to my core. Before that moment, I had sensed tension. I had seen small cracks in my son and his wife's interactions. I had felt unease creeping into our once peaceful home. But seeing the truth, that was entirely different. That was a knife cutting through every assumption, every hope, every moment of faith I had held on to. And even though I hadn't yet viewed the footage, I could feel the storm waiting on the horizon. The rising conflict, the subtle betrayals, the small tensions that had been building. They were about to culminate in a moment I would never forget. I remember standing outside the restaurant that evening, my hands trembling as I realized my mistake. And I remember the waitress's voice, low and urgent, "Promise me you won't pass out. Watch carefully." I promised Dot, and then the truth unfolded before me, more painful than any argument, more heartbreaking than any disappointment. The rising conflict had been slow, quiet, almost invisible. It had been in the subtle glances, the small silences, the secretive gestures. And in those weeks leading up to that night, I had learned a painful lesson. Sometimes, the most dangerous storms are the ones that brew quietly, unnoticed, until they strike with full force. But even in the midst of tension, even in the shadow of betrayal, life continues. Meals are eaten, conversations happen, laughter still occasionally surfaces, fragile but real, and hope, though tested, still whispers that understanding, forgiveness, or at least clarity may one day come. The evening I saw it, the restaurant felt smaller than usual, as if the walls had shrunk to press in on me. The dim light above the table flickered softly, the smell of fried bread and coffee blending into an almost surreal haze. My hands were clammy, my heart pounding with a rhythm I could not control. The waitress leaned closer, whispering again, "Are you ready? This is hard to watch." I nodded, though my voice was caught somewhere in my throat. The screen blinked on, and there it was. My son, my boy, the one I had raised with my whole heart, sitting at a table in another cafe, laughing and smiling. And beside him, a woman who looked almost identical to me. The resemblance was uncanny. Her hair, her face, her gestures, they mirrored mine in a way that was impossible to ignore. For a moment, my mind refused to process it. I blinked, thinking perhaps the footage was mistaken. But as the video continued, my stomach sank deeper, and reality came crashing down. The woman beside him leaned forward, laughing at something he said. My son reached out, touching her hand gently, affectionately. His tone, his gestures, everything about their interaction was intimate. My knees gave way beneath me. I dropped to the floor, holding my head in my hands. The air around me seemed to thicken, pressing in with the weight of betrayal. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. All I could feel was the icy stab of disbelief and heartbreak. How could he? Why would he? Then slowly the pieces began to fit together. The small glances, the nervous smiles, the hushed phone calls. They were no longer minor, they were signs. The tension that had grown over weeks, the uneasy dinners, the fleeting moments of suspicion, they were all part of this larger truth. And yet, even as my heart shattered, a voice inside me whispered, "Wait, watch, see everything before you judge." I forced myself to look again. The woman, the one who resembled me so eerily, was not a stranger. There were subtle cues, the way she moved, the way she spoke, that hinted at something more. And then the realization struck me, slower than a lightning bolt, but more devastating. My son had been seeking someone who mirrored me, someone who could fill the space of a mother he feared losing or a love he misunderstood. The betrayal was not just in his actions, but in the twisted reflection of what he had taken from me, unknowingly or not. The bond I thought we had, the trust I believed was unshakable, had been twisted into something unrecognizable. I remember gasping softly, trying to steady my breath. The waitress put a hand on my shoulder, her eyes kind but serious. "I warned you. Do you understand now why we asked you to promise?" I nodded, though I could barely form words. My mind raced through years of memories, teaching him to tie his shoes, helping him with homework, comforting him through broken friendships. Every tender moment felt fragile, delicate, as if the foundation of our love had been quietly undermined. Beneath my awareness, and then came the moment that broke me completely. My son leaned in, whispered something to the woman, and she laughed softly. The laughter was light, innocent, but in that moment, it felt like a dagger. The intimacy between them, the ease, the familiarity, it was something I could never have imagined in my worst fears. I remember sinking further into my chair, tears spilling quietly. Not loud, not dramatic, just a slow, steady ache that spread through my chest. I couldn't comprehend it. I couldn't reconcile the son I knew with the actions I was seeing. The footage continued, showing small, tender gestures, a hand on my back, a shared smile, leaning closer as if sharing secrets meant only for each other. Every moment was ordinary and terrifying at the same time. Ordinary because it was human. Ordinary because such intimacy between two people is natural. Terrifying because one of those people was my son and the other was a reflection of me. I couldn't tear my eyes away. My body shook, my chest ached, my mind raced with questions that had no answers yet. Was this fantasy? Was it deliberate? How long had it been going on? And then a new realization struck me. The footage wasn't just showing the act, it was showing the pattern. The small betrayals, the subtle ways trust had been eroded over time. All those quiet moments I had dismissed, the glances, the silences, the nervous laughter, they weren't accidental. They were preparation, and in that preparation, I understood the depth of the heartbreak. My son, the child I had nurtured, the man I had raised, had crossed a boundary that could never be undone. And the woman, my double, my reflection, had become the vessel through which she acted out desires I could not fully comprehend. I sank to my knees, overwhelmed by the weight of it. I didn't cry out. I didn't scream. I simply let the quiet ache settle over me, wrapping me in a blanket of disbelief and sorrow. My husband's voice echoed in my memory, gentle and steady, reminding me that even in the deepest pain, I could survive. For a long time, I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even breathe properly. The footage played on, and with every passing second, the truth became more undeniable, more inescapable, and yet, amid the devastation, a tiny part of me, perhaps the smallest flicker of reason, remained. You must understand. You must see everything clearly. I forced myself to watch the video again from the beginning. This time, I noticed details I had missed before: the nervous gestures, the way my son occasionally looked toward the camera as if he were aware of being watched. The woman mirrored me in subtle ways, the tilt of her head, the curve of her smile, the way she laughed at his jokes. The realization hit me with a quiet, terrible clarity. This was not merely a betrayal. It was a reflection of something deeper, something rooted in desire, loneliness, and misunderstanding. My son had created a secret world, one that mirrored the love and care he associated with me, and he had crossed a boundary that no mother could ever accept. I remember finally whispering to myself, "This is real. I have to face it." The waitress leaned in softly. "It's hard, but now you know. You have to decide what to do next." I nodded again. I was trembling, but there was also a strange clarity settling in. The shock, the heartbreak, the betrayal, they were all raw and undeniable. But the next step, however painful, had to be taken with a clear mind. That night, I didn't speak to anyone. I went home, sat quietly in the living room, and tried to process the enormity of what I had seen. The house was silent, the air heavy. My husband noticed my distinct gaze, but didn't press me. Sometimes, in times like these, silence is a kind of mercy. And in that silence, I realized something essential. Life does not always give us easy answers. Betrayal does not come with instructions or clarity. But heartbreak, as deep as it may be, can be survived. Pain can be endured. And truth, once faced, can begin the slow work of healing. The turning point that night was not only the revelation on the screen, It was the moment I understood that my family, the one I thought I knew so well, was more complex than I had ever imagined. My son's actions shattered the illusion of safety I had lived under. But in that shattering, a new awareness began to grow. I knew then that nothing would ever be the same. The innocence of our family dinners, the quiet trust of shared routines, the simple joy of laughter, everything had been touched by a shadow I could not ignore yet. Even amid the devastation, I felt a small, fragile spark of resolve. I would not collapse entirely. I would not let the betrayal destroy me completely. I had survived storms before, and this storm, however devastating, could be faced. I promised myself then that I would uncover the full truth, understand the motivations behind the betrayal, and navigate the heartbreak with clarity and dignity, because this moment of shattering was also the beginning of a journey toward understanding, toward confronting what had been hidden, and toward finding a way to either heal or move forward. The footage had changed everything. My son had crossed the line I could never have imagined, but the turning point was not only in what I saw, it was in the clarity that came afterward. The quiet, painful awareness that life, love, and family are never as simple as we wish them to be. And in that quiet, I began to prepare for the next steps, the confrontation, the questions, the emotional aftermath. The journey from heartbreak to understanding would be long, painful, and emotional. But it had begun, and there was no turning back. The days after that night were some of the hardest I have ever experienced. I kept replaying the footage in my mind, each scene more vivid than the last. My son's actions had shaken me to the core, but even more than that, they made me question everything I thought I knew about my family. I didn't speak at first. I went about the routines of life, mechanically preparing meals, arranging the house, tending to small chores, but inside my mind was a storm. The betrayal felt like a physical weight pressing down on me, but I knew I had to navigate it with clarity. I couldn't allow shock and anger to cloud my judgment. My husband noticed my withdrawal immediately. He didn't ask questions at first. He simply sat beside me in the quiet moments, offering a hand on my shoulder, a presence that said, "I'm here. You are not alone." That silent support reminded me that love, even in times of heartbreak, can endure. Eventually, I knew I had to confront the situation. Not in anger, not in rage, but with the calm clarity of someone seeking understanding. I called my son and asked him to meet me at home. His wife was there too, her face pale and tense. The air in the room was thick with anticipation and unspoken words. I began slowly, carefully, my voice calm but firm. I saw the footage. Both of them froze. My son's eyes dropped to the floor. His wife's hands clenched nervously in her lap. The tension was palpable, but I held my ground. I continued. "I don't understand why this happened. I need to hear the truth." My son looked at me, finally meeting my gaze. There was a flicker of guilt, of fear, of shame. And then he spoke softly. "Mom, I didn't know how to say it. I didn't mean for it to go this far." The words barely scratched the surface, but they were a start. For the first time, I realized that part of the pain was rooted not only in betrayal, but in misunderstanding, in a desire my son could not express, and feelings he had tried to hide even from himself. His wife, too, spoke quietly, almost apologetically. "We never wanted to hurt anyone. I didn't realize how it would look, how it would affect you." Hearing their voices, seeing their expressions, I felt a mix of emotions, anger, sorrow, confusion, but also a strange, fragile understanding. The situation was painful, yes, but it was also human. Imperfect, flawed, and yet there was room for conversation, for explanation, for rebuilding. I listened for hours that day. They told me things I hadn't expected, the loneliness my son had felt, the ways he had tried to process his emotions. the fears that had led him to act without thinking. Every detail was painful, but each word also brought clarity. And slowly, I realized that while the actions had been wrong, the intention was not rooted in malice. It was rooted in fear, confusion, and an inability to express deep-seated emotions in a healthy way. Over the following weeks, we began to repair step by step. The process was slow. Conversations were often quiet, reflective, sometimes interrupted by tears. But with each discussion, each acknowledgement of mistakes, we began to understand one another better. I realized something important. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Understanding does not erase hurt, but they create space to heal, to rebuild, to approach life with a little more compassion. My husband and I talked often, reflecting on the subtle signs we had missed, the small cracks we had overlooked. We didn't blame ourselves entirely, but we acknowledged that awareness and vigilance are part of love. Sometimes, love requires seeing the unseen, listening to the unsaid. My son and his wife also took steps to change, to rebuild trust, not just with me, but with each other. They began attending counseling, speaking openly about their emotions, and setting boundaries that respected the family's integrity. Slowly, the tension that had grown in our home began to ease. We also spoke about the future, how we could prevent misunderstandings, how we could ensure open communication, how we could cherish the bond of family without letting fear or secrecy undermine it. It wasn't perfect. It never would be. But it was honest, and in honesty, there's a kind of healing that time alone cannot give. One evening, I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where so many dinners had been shared. My son came in quietly, carrying a small bouquet of flowers. He handed them to me with a tentative smile. "I'm sorry, Mom, truly." I accepted the flowers, my hands shaking slightly. But this time, the tears were not just of pain. They were also of relief, of hope, of a fragile but growing trust. We talked long into the evening, not about the past, but about the present and the future. About how we could rebuild our lives together, how we could approach love with honesty, and how we could heal the invisible wounds that betrayal leaves behind. Looking back, I realized that resolution is not about erasing pain. It's about facing it, understanding it, and learning from it. My son's actions had caused deep hurt, yes, but they also revealed truths we had overlooked, the importance of communication, the fragility of trust, and the need for honesty in even the closest of relationships. I also learned that forgiveness is a choice. It doesn't mean forgetting what happened or excusing the mistakes made. It means acknowledging the pain, confronting it, and deciding to move forward without letting it destroy you. And most importantly, I learned that family, even when fractured, can survive. Even when betrayal occurs, there is room for love, understanding, and hope. If we are willing to face the truth with courage and compassion. The resolution was quiet, gentle, almost imperceptible. It wasn't dramatic. There were no grand gestures or sudden revelations. Just small moments, a smile, a conversation, a shared meal. Moments that reminded me that life continues, even after heartbreak, and that healing is a process, not an event. My son and his wife, once tangled in secrecy and misunderstanding, began to rebuild their bond with honesty and care. My husband and I found ways to support them without condoning mistakes, offering guidance while respecting their independence. And I, as a mother, learned that love can endure even the deepest betrayal, that patience and empathy are powerful tools, and that clarity often comes through the most painful experiences. I also discovered something about myself, that even in moments of unimaginable pain, I could survive. Even when my world felt shattered, I could find strength in silence and reflection and understanding. And I could extend compassion, even to those who had hurt me, not because their actions were acceptable, but because I chose to heal and not be consumed by anger. The turning point, the heartbreak, the revelation, it had all been devastating. But the resolution, the quiet rebuilding, the understanding, it was also profound. It reminded me that life is never simple, but it is always worth the effort of facing the truth, no matter how painful. And so life began to regain a quiet rhythm. Family dinners returned, not with the same naive simplicity as before, but with a deeper appreciation for honesty, presence, and love. Conversations were more open, smiles more genuine, and the bonds, though tested, grew stronger. I look back now and understand that every moment, painful or joyful, shapes us. Betrayal can break us, but it can also teach us. Heartache can wound us, but it can also guide us toward clarity. And love, even in the shadow of mistakes, can endure if nurtured with honesty, patience, and courage. Looking back on everything now, I understand that life has a way of teaching us lessons we never expected. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the quiet tension, it all felt unbearable at the time. But in the calm after the storm, I see how much those moments taught me about love, trust, and resilience. I have learned that family is not always perfect. It is messy, complicated, and sometimes painful. The people we love most can hurt us, whether intentionally or not. But that does not mean love ends. It means it must be nurtured, understood, and sometimes rebuilt. I also learned something about myself, that even in moments of unimaginable pain, I could find strength I didn't know I had. I could watch betrayal unfold, feel my heart break, and still choose clarity over confusion, understanding over judgment, and compassion over anger. That choice, simple as it seems, changed everything. My son and his wife learned too. They learned that actions have consequences, that secrecy erodes trust, and that honesty, even when uncomfortable, is the only way to build lasting bonds. Our family is not the same as it once was, and it will never be perfect. But it is stronger, deeper, and more aware of the fragility and value of love. Sometimes I sit at the kitchen table, the same table where so many memories have been made, and I watch my family interact. We laugh, we talk, we share small, ordinary moments, and I feel a quiet peace. Not the naive peace of a life without mistakes, but the mature peace of understanding that love endures, even after betrayal, even after heartbreak. I think about the evening at the restaurant, the footage, the shock that dropped me to my knees. I still remember it vividly, but I no longer see it only as a moment of devastation. I also see it as the beginning of clarity, a moment that forced us to confront what was hidden, to speak openly, and to find a path forward. Life will always have its unexpected storms. People will make mistakes. Relationships will be tested. But in every test, there is an opportunity to learn, to forgive, and to grow stronger. The key is to face the truth calmly, with courage and patience, and to choose the path that leads to understanding, not bitterness. And so our family continues. Not perfect, but together. We carry the lessons of the past with us, like gentle reminders of the fragility and strength of love. The past no longer haunts me, it teaches me. It reminds me that even when hearts break, healing is possible. Even when trust is shaken, it can be rebuilt. And even when the world feels heavy, hope and love can still survive. I close this story now with a quiet heart, not because the pain is gone, but because I have learned how to carry it. Life is full of surprises, some joyful, some painful, but each moment is an opportunity to understand, to grow, and to embrace the love that endures. Quietly, patiently, and profoundly. And if there is one thing I have learned, it is this: even in heartbreak, there is hope. Even in betrayal, there is a path to understanding. And even when life feels unbearable, love, true, honest, compassionate love can guide you home.